Alright, well, I'm going to answer Sandra's question on here. I'm not sure if she's in the hear the stream or not, but she can always get the video after. So Sandra asked, does doing too much cardio before free weights interfere with growth of strength? And it's not exactly a straightforward answer, and you could go kind of two ways with it. Doing a lot of cardio can affect your building of strength, and it can affect muscle gain. So doing a lot of cardio can use the body's resources that would normally use to build muscle, and it would also strip down muscle if you're using a lot of your resources. However, using cardio before free weights won't necessarily affect your gains that session. The main effect I would say it could have on it would be if you were to really exhaust yourself, you just quite frankly wouldn't lift. You wouldn't lift quite as much. So, sorry, I just got another question on that. So yeah, I mean, you wouldn't lift quite so much if you was really exhausting yourself prior to free weights. But in general, no, it won't affect your growth. It won't affect your actual session that moment if you're doing cardio either before or after. Some people prefer before, some people prefer after, but really it doesn't make a massive difference. So it's up to you, really. Yeah, you will hear things from both sides of the scale. You'll hear things both, pro cardio and weights and anti cardio workouts. I tend to split them into separate days. I don't tend to do it on the same day, purely because I find that's quite energy intensive. So I tend to try and avoid that. Let me just sort some levels out. Right, 10 miles bike. So yeah, I mean, that person that she's messaged me in private chat, she does quite a lot of cardio before weights, which could just affect the workout itself. If it doesn't, you're probably fine. Okay, right, there's a question here from Tom Major. Hey man, can you tell me to get bigger, more ripped abs? The progression is really slow. I do like 6 to 8 sets of 30 once per week. Also, how much does protein help, and which one should I pick? It is 65 kilograms, 177 centimeters. Whey isolate or mass gainer? Good question. Bear with me a second, and I'm going to calculate your protein intake. So what are you? You're 65 kilograms. 65. So you want about 1.4, so 60 kilograms. The maths is escaping me right now. There's one part of fitness I'm bad at, it's the maths. So what's this word? Forget about that. Basically, what you want is protein. Start with the abs. So you use 68 sets of 30 once per week, but you're finding the progression for ripped abs is really slow. The main problem there is that most abs is going to come from dieting and losing body fat. I mean, you can build abs, of years and not see any noticeable difference because they're just building in there and they're so deep in the core that really abs tend to get more dense rather than get larger. I mean, they grow to an extent, but they tend to just get denser and stronger, especially if you're doing these high amount of sets with a high amount of reps. Then really what's happening there is your abs are getting a lot denser and they're getting a lot more endurance and getting strength, and that's great. But they're not going to become too visible until you really cut the body fat down to be able to see them, because right now there's going to be a layer of body fat actually covering the definition on those abs. So really what you want to do there is cut down on your calories a little, drop a little weight, possibly cut down on things like salt, as a lot of salt can cause water retention, and that water retention can also make you appear a little bit puffy, and it can hide your abs ever so slightly. As for protein, how much does it help? protein is, it's the building block of every cell. Hang on, slow those a bit. But protein is the building block of every cell. It's the every cell in your body needs protein to build, to repair itself, to create new cells. So if you're looking to build muscle, you're looking to add weight and mass, you're going to need protein to do that. And you're also going to need protein to repair what you've just damaged through exercise. So yeah, it's extremely important. Generally, we try to advise that you get all of your protein through dieting. And if you're trying to build strength, then you want roughly 1.2 to 1.4 grams of protein per kilogram of your body weight. So, I mean, in your case, that would be what? So if you're 65 kilograms, then you want 1.4. So you're looking at, you want roughly about 91 grams of protein a day, give or take a few. And you can get most of that pretty easily through, good consumption of meat, good plant products. It's important to remember as well that while plants will contain proteins, they'll often be incomplete proteins. They will not be the full amino acid chain that you will get with animal proteins. And I think it is good to mix up plant and animal proteins. But if you're going to mix plant proteins, you need to try and mix different sources of plant proteins. So, some, beans with some, dark leafy greens that have protein in them, or, something along those lines, like a grain, barley or something like that. So, that's how you want to get most of your protein. You don't want to supplement too much, but most people do, because it is easier and it's quicker. And if you get out of the gym and you want to try and hit a certain, window on when to get protein, then, you're probably going to want protein shakes. For that, you ask about whey isolate or mass gainer. Mass gainers, I would forget about. Don't worry about mass gainers, especially considering that you're wanting to see some abs. And mass gainers are full of calories. And the main process is, they're going to help build muscle bulk, but they also help you build a calorific surplus. So they're going to help you pack yourself with calories. And you don't want that if you want to see definition in your abs. You want to run kind of maintenance, maybe a little bit below on calories to try and cut some of the fat that's covering your abs. So I wouldn't worry about mass gainers. I'd forget about that. As for whey and whey isolate, as far as I'm aware, whey isolate is pretty much the better of the two, but it's the more expensive version. So really, that's up to you. They'll both work, and depending on how much of it you need, kind of thing. If you're eating enough meat and if you're eating enough food, then really like one protein shake after a workout will do. I mean, if you're needing like 91 grams, your average protein shake is going to give you about 27. You're not going to really want like 3 protein shakes a day, because that'd be almost your entire daily allowance of protein there, and it's just not the best way to supplement it. Because if you then eat, if you then eat like a bunch of meat during the day and beans or whatever, then all you've done there is you've built up a surplus of protein, and your body can't even use more than 2 grams of protein. And too much protein can, in theory, cause certain problems, let alone just extra calories in itself. So I would just stick to eating as much good lean meats, fish as possible. Beans, pulses, grains, things like that. Even things like soya. Soya is actually quite an unusual one, because soya has complete protein, like animal proteins. If you ignore the kind of indications that it might cause problems with male hormones, soya is a good source of a complete protein. So with 91 grams, honestly, I think you could get, I don't know, you said 177 centimeters. I don't know how tall it is. I mean, you do that in feet. So you are 5'9" or so, yeah. So yeah, I mean, you're not going to need a massive amount of protein right now. So really, I'd focus on cutting down the fat, getting those abs visible, like you say. I'd also possibly consider, instead of doing like these 30 sets, 6 to 8, would be possibly to try and, if you've got access to a cable machine or something like that, would be to add a little bit of weight to it, and maybe lower the reps, lower the weight, and kind of lift some extra added weight. If you've got an ab machine, that'd help as well, rather than just when you say 6 to 8 sets of 30 a week, I'm assuming you're saying like sit-ups or crunches, which are pretty good, yeah. Make sure as well you're doing things like back extensions to balance the back as well. I think I'm on a slight audio delay right now. Not too bad, just a bit of lag. So yeah, hopefully that answered the question if you are still there. If not, then this will probably still be uploading to YouTube afterwards, and I'm going to edit out all the bits where I'm just sitting there kind of eating and looking bored, and I'll condense it down to the actual questions and just deliver that as one solid questions video for anything I get during the afternoon. So you don't have to sit through the hours of me kind of just sitting there pretending I've got something to talk about. I'm going to go and rescue my sandwich from the microwave now, 1 second. I should always make sure to try and eat about 2 portions of fish a week, making sure 1 portion is oily, as oily fish contains essential acids omega-3 and occasionally 6 in smaller amounts. And these are essential acids because they are amino acids that cannot be produced by the body itself and must be supplied by an outside source. And they provide all kinds of functions like I think it's omega-3 that lowers blood pressure in a way that we're not actually sure why. It just does, if I think of the right thing. And it's it improves immune response. There's a whole bunch of stuff. I can't actually have the list in front of me at the moment. I was literally just reading up on it a little bit yesterday, and I can't actually remember off the top of my head the whole list. But it does a bunch of cool stuff. Alright. It can also lower inflammation and improve joint health, which is why it's so essential in people with arthritis and things like osteoporosis and any kind of cartilage degradation in joints. So Nico asks, what would be the best things to do while training for ice hockey? It's a lot of balance and leg work, but is there more I can do besides squats and lunges? I've lost a lot of weight during the last 6 months. Does it have a negative impact on balance? When you say balance, I'm not too sure what kind of balance you mean. I don't know if you mean the kind of falling over balance or the balance of muscle. So I'm not sure how to approach that part of it. Oh, no, wait, you mentioned balance earlier. It's a lot of balance in the leg. Balance and leg. Yeah, I get you. So you must mean the balance of not going arse over tip, right? Aside from squats and lunges, I mean, if you're trying to build like athletic structure in the legs and the whole sort of nervous system interaction of kind of making the legs communicate as one, then you see the problem with you know, a lot of lifts is they kind of just train you in. Sorry, reading a comment on Facebook. So I mean, when you're training like lifting, the problem is it kind of just reinforces the actual movement for that particular range of movement. And this is especially true of isolation exercises, and it kind of just teaches the muscle to do that movement. If you really want good interaction for sports, you know, whether this be hockey or, you know, rugby, football, anything like that, if you want a sport where you can change and adapt your body as you need it, you know, you can change direction, you know, you can change your height and power, then yeah, you want to stay upright. That's what I was hoping. So basically, yeah, I mean, rather than lifting as well, I'd advise doing things like box jumps. I'm trying to find a way to explain box jumps without literally just saying jump on a box. But you want to box about, you know, chest height or as high as you can jump. There will be videos online for it. And yeah, you want to jump on the box. You know, you can also do these with barbells on your back, but I wouldn't worry about that. I'd save that until, you know, you do lots of box jumps for a long time. Jumping exercises, things like sprinting exercises. If you occasionally do some like high intensity interval cardio with sprints and stuff, you can also get sled things. If you have anything to push, like a sled type thing, to put weights on, even like a little snow sled or something to hold on to, anything like that, and just run in a straight line pushing something, that's pretty good as well. Running sort of like, you know, circus, like, you know, putting cones on the floor and slaloming between them, things like that. These are the kind of things that they do a lot in things like football. I don't know, that doesn't look like an American name, so I'm going to assume a European, so football's fine. Football, soccer, the kind of things they would do to warm up there. And it's all about, rather than sort of lifting and strengthening as well, it's all about making the brain muscle connection from your sort of your legs. So if you're trying to run and change direction, your body knows how to fire the muscles in that respect. And things like box jumps are great for this, because they'll still teach you how to use your legs, but they'll also give you an explosive strength, and they'll give you the extra fitness, while also sort of training your brain how to fire its muscle fibers in the correct order. What else I missed? But yeah, squats and lunges are still good. Keep doing squats and lunges. I don't know if you've got any calves on there. You probably have, but make sure you've got things like some calf raises on there, things like that. They will help. There's also, I have no idea what they're called. They're the things where you lay down. Oh man, I've got to show. If you look up exercises for the adductors and abductors, they are the insides of your groin. Hang on. Oh, it's getting not safe for work already. You want these muscles and these muscles. You want the exercises that build those, and you want to look for adductor and abductor lifts. Look up those as well. They're normally just body weight based, and they don't hurt to do, because again, you want to build every aspect of the legs. You know, you got the quads and glutes from squats. Got the hamstrings and quads and a little bit of glutes from lunges. Add some calf raises, add some adductor and abductor in there, which still get done during squats, don't get me wrong. Do things like box jumps, sprints, skipping, or even like jump rope is good. You just want to use your legs and stuff as much as possible, because that's just going to teach your brain to use it in every situation, every range of movement, every speed, every strength. And if you're playing a sport like hockey, you know, you don't want to find yourself getting injured because you've tried to suddenly change direction and, you know, your inclination quickly, and suddenly you've gone and injured yourself because your brain's going, whoa, I don't know how to do that. You know, I don't know how to change direction and then quickly put power behind it because I only know how to do a squat, or I only know how to do a lunge or a leg extension. So yeah, that would be my advice, is just to keep as mobile as possible and do more athletic exercises and add them to your regular strength routine. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but the sandwich eating part of the stream is about to end. For those watching now and those who will watch in the future, when people often say to me, people often say to me, and I get this question at least once or twice a day, and they say, you know, I want to work out at home, I can't get to the gym, is there any equipment I could buy that's cheap that would allow me to work out at home, you know, have to do a proper workout at home? And I always tell them to buy an adjustable dumbbell kit, and then I show them the file that we have on home workouts. And when I say adjustable dumbbell kit, I mean these. And you can pick one of these up for about £20, whatever that is in American money. And the advantage of these is that you've got, for quite a low price, you get the two barbells and you get the adjustable plates. And these will go to 20 kilos on one. So, you know, 10 kilos on each. Or is it slightly more? I can't remember. It might be 22 kilos or something. But yeah, so you can have a reasonable weight dumbbell. You can do things like goblet squats with one dumbbell. These are more than enough for some curls and, you know, tricep extensions and anything like that. So these are good and these are cheap, and you can get all kinds of different brands. But anywhere you look, they don't come in all, you know, cases or anything. But adjustable dumbbells are cheap and easy, and you can buy extra plates and whatnot, and they are worth it because you can unlock so much of your fitness routine just through having a couple of adjustable dumbbells. The resistance bands helped as well, and I might show you those a bit later on. But so I would definitely recommend, if you're looking to work out at home, picking up a couple of these and using the file that we have in our files document section, which is home workout with dumbbells. And I also think the added weight of the dumbbells on the arms may have just shrunk my seat. So let me just fix that. Nope, I think my camera's wrong. Okay. Yeah, so I've also got a set of resistance bands. Let's see if I show them. Sorry if I'm talking too quickly, by the way. Unfortunately, I'm from a very quick-speaking dialect. But yes, I don't know why I picked them all up. But yes, so I use resistance bands for a few things. And they're like this. And they have that little crinkly stuff that stops them snapping and decapitating you. It's kind of hit or miss. Sometimes it's a pain having this extra fabric on it. Sometimes it's a blessing. So they have little handles. They have a little extension you can put inside the doors, but I haven't used that. And they come in various. They're quite cheap, these ones, and they come in various strengths. So like this is possibly the weakest, and then there's the blue, which is a bit stronger, and then the red, which is a little bit more resistance. And black, which is the most resistance. So I'll show you some ways you can use those. Let's just double check Facebook. Okay. So I'm gonna move my camera around. No, I should have made my bed. Sorry, I have loads of stuff that was originally on my desk that I moved off for this. We'll just pretend that there's no plush animals and anything on that. Okay, so I can move this into a good position. I'm going to speak kind of loud. I don't know how loud I'll be over here. So, resistance bands. If you were to step on them with your feet, like so, and put them in the middle of your feet, you can step on them, and then they will stretch up, and they'll provide a decent amount of resistance for things like dumbbell curls. You're supposed to be able to do shoulder presses, but yeah, it's kind of, if I was a bit lower like that, but they're a little bit not great for that. Maybe I get a bit more over here. Whoops, it's not pushing on my desk. Okay. So yeah, you're supposed to do shoulder presses like so, but I kind of find that, especially if I'm not wearing shoes, which you're kind of supposed to wear shoes, I get to do uncomfortable on my feet if I lift them up here. You can also, I like to use my, I don't know what this is. I wrap them around my door handle. So, and I also put them on the legs of tables. If you wrap them around the door handle, you can do tricep extensions as though you were on a cable. Like so. You can also, if you're using a slightly higher strength one, if we pretend that I'm sitting on a chair, you can do rows. Row back. Face pause. You can also, I would think, do some bicep with that as well. Yeah. You can do some leg exercises with them. Not as keen on them for leg exercises. You can also do, let me just change the strength of it. You can also do shoulder exercises with these. Oh, excuse me. So you can do things like your front raises and lateral raises. As for the posterior raises, again, it's got a door attachment for these. Yeah, and in theory you can kind of do the posterior flies with those, but it's not too good for those. They do come with a door attachment, which I've not used. I don't really know how to use, but they are for that purpose. Cool. So the lady with the somewhat complicated but nice name, I'm gonna try and Nimaya. Both of those probably very wrong. Says the Cool. Meniscus in my right knee is swollen, and it's making my knee feel tight. It doesn't hurt unless I'm getting up and sitting down. Do I take a break from running, or can I just ice it and see what happens? When it comes to any injury and any pain, especially in things like the knees, my advice is always, if you're doing something high impact like running, is to knock it on the head for at least a couple of weeks. Because running is pretty high impact, it's pretty harsh on joints like the knees. No matter what shoes you're wearing, no matter what you're running on, it's always going to be a harsh exercise. So if you've got meniscus problems, definitely stop running for a couple of weeks. Ice it as well, you know, whatever, if that reduces swelling or pain for you. It won't make a massive difference in long-term recovery, but go ahead and ice it. And yeah, you want to make sure that you're keeping that rested and keeping an eye on it, because the problem with meniscus tears and any kind of meniscus problem is they can just persist and they can become chronic, and if they tear, they can just stay torn until you have surgery on it, or, you know, for the rest of your life kind of thing. I mean, I have a meniscus tear from, I'm not actually sure, whenever I was about 10, yeah, but 12 years ago. So yeah, I've had a meniscus tear from about 12 years ago, and that's persisted, and I've got kind of a rattly, clunky knee, and it hurts sometimes. And the only way I'm going to get that fixed is if I have surgery on it, which isn't quite bad enough for you. So yeah, really do not tempt fate with meniscuses. A couple of weeks of running, a couple of weeks of exercise is not worth years of injury if it persists. The getting up and getting down thing, I don't know where it hurt in your knee. It makes your knee feel tight, but it kind of sounds like it could even be like ACL related. It could even be one of the major sort of tendons or ligaments in the knee doing it rather than the meniscus. If it feels like it's on the front of your knee, just below the kneecap, then or just behind it, then it could be ACL. In which case, that could be a different matter entirely. If I have a diagram next to me, I'm not sure if it's particularly clear though. Yeah, I can't make any use of that. But yeah. So yeah, I mean, definitely my advice is to stop running for a couple of weeks, see how it goes. When you do go back to running, make sure you've got good shoes and good form. Maybe go to a running shop and get your form checked and get some better shoes. Keep it iced if you so wish to reduce pain and swelling. But it's a complicated thing, knee pains, because there is a lot going on in these. A lot that can go wrong with them, and there's all kinds of sensations when stuff does go wrong. So at that point, it starts to go beyond kind of what I'm qualified to give advice for, and my advice would be, you know, to go to a doctor, go to a physio, get it looked at. You know, they do the thing where they grab your leg and move it around, and they'll be able to diagnose properly, hopefully, what's wrong. And that would be my advice, is to do that. But if you want to avoid that, I know that if you don't sound American, so yeah, if you've got free healthcare, go for it. Go to the doctors. No reason not to. If it's going to cost you money, then maybe just, you know, drop the running for a couple of weeks. But yeah, go to the doctors, get it looked at. They'll probably refer you to a physio. In which case, good luck with that. Meniscuses are a bit of a bugger, so hopefully that goes well for you. You're not actually watching the stream because you can't connect, but you'll be watching this on a YouTube video later, I hope. We have a really good sort of, when I was talking earlier about the protein question, we have a really good brand called myprotein.co.uk, I think it is, and I'm pretty sure it's UK only. But they sell big sacks of protein for a pretty good price. I managed to get all this. This is unflavoured whey, which is always slightly cheaper. It's all pretty, you know, no fancy, no frills. There's nothing added. It's just whey protein straight up. It probably actually says that somewhere. Yeah. Oh no, wrong way. Impact whey. And this is like unflavoured whey. I mean, people complain about, you know, the flavour of whey. And unflavoured whey is pretty okay actually. It kind of just tastes like dairy. You know, it tastes like a dairy product. It is. It's kind of no use masking it. And it's really good stuff, and it's really good price. And people always ask me recommendations on, you know, which protein to buy, which brand. And I wish I could tell them, you know, like my protein. But it's only in England, so it's a recommendation that I can't make too well. Hopefully this is a good shelf life. This is 2.5 kilograms, and it cost me, off the top of my head, I can't remember, but it was under £25 for 2.5 kilograms of impact whey, which has a shelf life of, I don't know what I'm reading there. Oh yeah, best before date, February 2015. So this has over a year on it. So it's amazing, really, how much protein you get and how long it will last for that time. You can get whey isolates from them as well. You can get anything. You can even get like cookies from them, like not even like protein cookies, just regular cookies. They sell loads of stuff. They even sell meals like in packages like this, like just pre-packaged meals. And they're just a bloody good brand. And so yeah, anyone who has access to myprotein.co.uk from Europe or England, I don't know if they ship to Europe. I know they don't ship to America. So anyone who can use that brand, I would severely advise it. Yeah, their creatine is really good as well. You get quite a decent stack of creatine, and considering you only use little 5 milligram scoops of creatine, it lasts forever. I had a plush snake though, and I kind of consider something that's been in my bed for 6 months no longer fit to give to children. It has a little ratty tail. Speaking of creatine, doesn't it add water to muscles? I heard that when you take it, your muscles swell because of water, and when you stop taking it, that you dry out and lose the water. Is that true? Yes, it is true, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. Creatine. One of the benefits of creatine, I mean, let's start. I mean, creatine, first of all, for those who don't know, is it's a resource used by the muscles mostly for strong anabolic movements. I like to think of it as kind of like a gunpowder, if you will, that kind of stores in the muscles, and it's bang, and it uses it to fire a strong explosive movement. But another thing that creatine also does is it pulls water in the muscles. And one reason that that's good, and it's a good benefit of creatine, it can help results, is it can actually help draw protein into the muscles, and it also stimulates, I think they call them like satellite cells or something like that, that actually stimulates protein synthesis in the muscles. So you can actually get more benefit from protein through using creatine as well, aside from the added strength and energy it gives. And when you stop taking creatine, yes, you will dry out. The muscle will leave the muscles. The water, sorry, will leave the muscles. But it will only restore to return to the state that it was before you started using creatine. So it won't, you lose the water that you gained through the creatine, but you won't lose more water than you had originally. Overall, as it stands right now, there is no proven detrimental side effects of creatine, other than the fact that I think someone proved that in like certain high amounts it can basically give you the shit. But there's no major side effect of creatine. There's some stuff that got touted about kidney damage, liver damage, but overall creatine is safe. It's a natural resource. You'd often get it through meat. I think you can get it if you eat bone marrow. I think it gets stored in bones. Might be wrong there. So yes, I mean, you will get some creatine through meat. I think you can get it through certain vegetables as well. But if you supplement creatine, you tend to go for a loading phase, and then you stop it for a couple of weeks, and you start another loading phase. And there should be no problem using creatine. It's one of the very few it's one of the few supplements outside of protein that I actually would ever recommend. I'm not big on supplements, but creatine is a good one. Picked the wrong thing. Okay, so damn it, I dropped that on my nuts. Ow. You know that stomach ache when you drop something on your nuts? Yeah, there it is. Oh, god damn it. Must turn into an anatomy lesson. One of the main reasons you get a stomachache when your testicles are struck is because your balls are basically anchored in to the lining of your abdominal wall. When there's any kind of trauma to them, it tugs on that abdominal wall and it spasms all kind of stuff around it, and the nerves go all up inside you, and it actually causes it's a real physical pain in the stomach. It's not just kind of, it's not a misplaced pain that you're feeling when it should just be ball pain. It's a pain that travels, and it's a trauma and shock that travels from the nuts all the way up into their anchoring in the abdominal lining. And that's why you get that horrible stomach ache when you are kicked in the ghoulies. The more you know. Also occurs to me when I was answering Miko's question earlier on the balance, that I actually missed out something. He originally asked me if he lost a lot of weight and if that ever had a negative effect on balance. If you are still watching, then no, losing weight shouldn't have a negative effect on your balance. If you have any extra problems with balance, that may just be because there's a possibility that you're not. I don't know. If you're not doing it as much as you used to, or anything like that, or if you've been ill at all, then that could affect it. But losing weight itself shouldn't affect your balance. If it does, then maybe check with the doctors. It could be some kind of imbalance in certain, nutrients or something like that. It's worth checking out. But by and large, no, losing weight shouldn't affect your balance. I'll tell you one of my favourite instructing devices is my stick. Now this stick is it's a good instructing device because I get a lot of like kids, and they come into the gym and like they want to get swole, and they want to be the next Arnold Schwarzenegger, or they saw like someone on TV and they're like I want ripped abs like this guy on TV, and they're like, can I do it in 6 months because like I've got summer camp and I want to look really good for the girls and swim in the lake. So what I do is I get this stick and I beat them shitless with it, and then that generally learns them pretty good. No, what I actually use the stick for is I tend to use it for deadlift instruction and squat instruction. Squat instruction less so, but I tend to use it, and this is a good example because I'm currently physing up my shoulders. But I use it when people want to know like where to put, the squat bar and all that. If they want to practice putting something down on their shoulders without actually using a barbell, then they can generally use my stick to practice with. That's one use of my glorious stick. And the main reason I use my stick is for instructing deadlifts, and unfortunately I can't do that without a volunteer, and I can't really ask one of you guys to come here and be my volunteer. But I don't think I can instruct this on myself. I like to have the disclaimer right now that this is not good deadlift form as such, because I am within the limitations of my position. But if I had a client, I'd be putting the stick on their back like so. So when they were bending over to do their deadlifts, I would have the stick on their back. And when they're in the position, I would basically, now this is where it gets comical, because I have to try and do this somehow myself, is I want it to touch at the butt, the shoulder blades, and the head. Now I can't seem to hold this myself. So basically it's supposed to touch in 3 points: the butt, the shoulders, and the head. So the head's looking forward, and there should be able to fit a bit of space between there, a bit of space between the neck. The important bit is that there's a flexion in the lumbar spine that I can fit my hand between the stick. So while my shoulders and my butt are touching the stick, I can still fit my hand behind the stick. So they'll go in for the deadlifts and the stick will still be held to them. And that lumbar extension helps activate the lower back muscles. So rather than just keeping a straight back, which will give you a slightly weaker core, and you're not really using the full strength of your back, you're kind of putting everything in the hips as you go up for the deadlift. Just by flexing the back a bit, you just activate and pull in those lumbar muscles slightly. And that's why I have a stick. So those also by clean up pretty well. So yeah, these are Vibrams or Vibrams, depending on how you pronounce them. These are the 5-finger shoes that you always hear people raving about. There's quite a lot of people in our group that use these, and oh fucking hang on, what's going on there? They've all got twisted up in the washing machine. So these are pretty sweet shoes. I never used to run very much because I used to get really knackered feet from running, and I used to get a lot of knee problems. And like the question earlier about the meniscus damage and stuff like that, and I've got a bit of meniscus damage, and I get very irritated if I run very easily. And I've tried the stability shoes, and my normal street shoes, sort of like arch supports, because I have fallen arches as well. So I've got arch support shoes, but then I decided to take the plunge and buy these. And they're a little expensive for a shoe, but they are, in my opinion, totally worth it. They're maybe not everyone's cup of tea, but they're good. I've got the KSO Trail version. And obviously you can see the main difference to a regular shoe is the little wiggly toes. And they feel really weird when you first start using them, but when you get used to them you don't really notice. But the main advantages over a regular shoe is that they allow you to actually like pivot your feet rather than a shoe which will just kind of hold your feet flat and still as you're walking around. And as you impact, you've just got a flat foot, and they recommend going down mid-foot, but there's shock absorption, but you're just, there's no movement. But with these, you can bend and change the terrain. If your foot's doing that, you're not too healthy. But these allow a good range of movement. They also allow things like your toes to like move around rocks and obstructions. If you was to land on a rock while running, it will just push up where it needs to rather than curl up a whole shoe kind of thing, and that will help absorb a lot of the impact. And you can get like thinner versions which feel even more barefoot. I run on quite uneven ground, so I use the trail runners. But in general, like, you're running with what your body thinks is the best way for it to run, rather than any arch supports or shoes or stability guidance. Wearing these will let you run as your body thinks is fit. How you walk around all day barefoot, you'll be able to run like you should. And these have made a big difference in my running, and they kind of make it almost more interesting for me because they provide like a tactile feeling. There's more sort of feedback from the environment you're running, rather than just a flat, plain cushion sort of thud, 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 thud as you're running. You get an actual like physical, tactile response from these. And I just kind of find it more interesting to run with, if nothing else. Although less interesting today when I was running through ankle-deep cold water, because let me tell you, these are not waterproof and they're not warm. So if you go out in cold, wet weather, then these are not the most comfortable shoes in the world. But they're easy to machine wash. Like, before I put these in today, these were just like black and brown. These were just caked in stuff and mud. But they clean up well. People say they smell bad, but mine smell really nice. It's like berries. So yeah, 5 fingers. So any runners out there, I would totally advise it. They're also really good for lifting, because when you're doing things like deadlifts and squats, you're always better off having a full connection to the ground when you do those exercises. So without a doubt, I would recommend wearing something like either barefoot, 5 fingers, Converse, even like combat boots, work boots. Anything that doesn't have a cushioned sole is good for deadlifts and squats, because they allow you a proper connection with the ground. They allow you to drive from the hills without just losing stability in sole cushions. So yeah, without a doubt, I'm starting the gym again next week after a period away, and these will be coming with me, and I will be lifting with them. So I'll be able to report back on how well that works for me. But I know from others that lifting 5 fingers is pretty sweet.